Coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast, the first preseason game of the year is in the books officially. I'll talk about what stood out and who stood out. That plus a whole lot more comes up on Monday's edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast for August 14th, 2023.
Just win. Just win. Just win. Just win.
The autumn wind is a raider, pillaging just for fun. He'll knock you round and upside down and laugh when he's conquered and won. And won. And won. And won. And won.
And welcome in, Raider Nation, to another edition of the Locked On Raiders podcast. Thank you so much for making the show your first listen of the day. Make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts to get the latest edition of the show. Of course, if you're checking us out on YouTube, it's because of my man, Ari. He does a great job each and every day making sure we're up on YouTube, we're looking good, we're sounding good. He also celebrated a birthday on Sunday. So shout out to Ari. You can check him out on Twitter at Ari Produces. You can always hit me up on Twitter as well, at your boy Q254. And, of course, you want to chime in on the show, as many of you have. We got the Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line at 707-654-4693. A lot of calls and texts coming through the Locked On Raiders podcast voicemail line. So we'll get a handful of them coming up in segment number 3 of today's show. Segment number 2, really want to talk about what stood out and who stood out in a major way as far as I'm concerned in the Raiders' 34-7 victory over the 49ers. Not that wins and losses matter in the preseason. The scoreboard doesn't matter, but there was a lot to take away from what I saw on Sunday that does matter as far as this team building and trying to put together a really good campaign in 2023. Here in segment number 1, I like to do news and notes, really just kind of give you a recap of what we saw on Sunday. And off top, it was a lot of fun just being part of the pregame and postgame show with Donald Penn. It was the first time that either one of us had done the pre or the postgame show. I've done portions of the postgame show before, but I've never done the whole thing. Right, JT the Brick and Eric Allen and Lincoln Kennedy were all part of the radio broadcast. They did a fantastic job. And then Jason Horowitz, who's usually doing the play-by-play voice on the radio side of things, was on the television side of things. So just kind of switched things up for preseason, just having a little bit more fun with it. And myself and Donald Penn, we were right there at the Coors Light Landing at the Torch at Allegiant Stadium for the pre and the post-game show. And that was a ton of fun being able to talk to guys like Captain Kirk Morrison. He showed up. Jason Horowitz, he showed up. We had my man Vinny Bonsignor as well talking about what he was going to be looking for in the game. But just really cool to be back in Allegiant Stadium. Really great to see Raider Nation back in Allegiant Stadium. Were there a lot of 49er fans there? Sure, there is plenty. One, it's Las Vegas, as we've all kind of grown accustomed to, right? It's the 49ers. We all know that they travel really well. Battle of the Bay by way of Vegas is what I like to call it. Preseason, I mean, it is what it is. And as I mentioned in the postgame show to Donald Penn, you want to start eliminating a lot of the visiting fans from coming to Allegiant Stadium, consistently win at Allegiant Stadium, and that'll start helping eliminate. Will it get rid of them all? No, not at all. But it'll start to eliminate a little bit if the Raiders as a team, as an organization, could start winning consistently at Allegiant Stadium. But there was a lot to like in this game. Aiden O'Connell got to start, played a lot of the game, played the majority of the game. 15 for 18, 141 yards, a touchdown pass. He looked very comfortable throughout the course of the game. Did not look like it was too big for him. He's not a guy that's very mobile, but he's able to roll out plenty. That's what he did at Purdue. He was able to do that. You saw him on little naked bootlegs and passes out of the rollout. And I thought he did really well with that. And he made one really big play where he tried to roll out, and it was a naked bootleg, and the 49er defender read it perfectly and went up to make the sack and just basically whiffed, right? I mean, Aiden O'Connell just kind of ducked out of it and was able to keep the play alive, throw the ball down the field, and he didn't have a completion, but there was a holding penalty on the 49ers. So not only did he avoid a sack, but he was able to pick up a first down because of the defensive holding. Thought that was really good. Zamir White, no Josh Jacobs, we knew that. Zamir White, 13 carries, 43 yards, and a touchdown. He ran downhill, and he ran hard. Sincere McCormick, he ran down the hill, and he ran hard as well, had a touchdown run. Thought that was really good. Raiders defense had a couple takeaways, fumble recovery and a Sam Webb interception, and really honestly could have had 2 more picks. Duke Shelley and Amari Burney both had their opportunities to have interceptions, and Duke Shelley, really, I know he's never going to forgive himself for the one that he had. Ball was right in his hands, in the end zone, could have intercepted it. Instead, he popped it into the air, and the 49er tight end came down with it for a touchdown. And again, the score was 34-7. So Duke Shelley basically gifted the 49ers with the one touchdown by not coming away with the interception as he should have. So, there's a few things that I was looking for in this game as I kind of rolled out on Friday and documented. Aiden O'Connell and Chase Garbers. I wanted to see what they look like. Well, check those boxes. They did well. And, of course, Aiden O'Connell, as I mentioned, played the majority of the game. Thought he did a good job. The running backs, Zamir White and Britton Brown. Saw a lot of Zamir White. Didn't see a whole lot of Britton Brown, but saw plenty of Sincere McCormick. Saw some of Amir Abdullah. Thought that the running backs did well. 35 carries, 130-something yards. Thought they did a good job. And really, the offensive line, I thought, did a good job as well. You don't run for 135 yards and a couple touchdowns and 35 times carrying the rock if the offensive line doesn't do some good things. Young guys, especially on defense, saw the young guys like Nesta J. Silvera. He played well. Amari Burney, he played well. Adam Plant, I thought he did well. Neil Farrell Jr. did some good things. I thought there was a lot to like from the Raiders defense in general. We'll talk about the defense more coming up in segment number 2. But young guys, I wanted to see them go out there and play really well. We didn't see the starters. None of them. Max Crosby wasn't out there. Chandler Jones wasn't out there. Marcus Peters wasn't out there. You didn't see Robert Spillane. You didn't see Divine Diablo. None of those guys. But you saw a lot of the young dudes, and the young dudes really stepped up to the plate. And then the offensive line competition is something else I was looking for. Jermaine Illuminor and Thayer Munford, Greg Van Roten and Alex Bars. And I thought GVR, Greg Van Roten, did a really good job at the guard position. Alex Bars was okay at moments. He had a couple situations where it looked like he got himself in trouble. GVR even got beat, a time or two. But I thought for the most part, the offensive line did a good job. Illuminor did well at the tackle spot. Munford, I thought, did well. He came in a couple times at that jumbo tackle position, that sixth offensive lineman, that eligible, basically a tight end position, but he's an offensive lineman, so he's eligible. I thought he did really well at that also. So all in all, when you come away at the 34-7 victory, you're at home at your very first preseason game. I think that there's a lot to like. Right, I like the fact that Aiden O'Connell as the quarterback, he snuck the ball a couple times. There was a few times where the 49ers never even lined anybody up over center, and I kept thinking, like, man, you just got to keep attacking that. Use that. If they're going to leave the center uncovered and you only need 1 yard to pick up, they went for it on 4th and 1 and got stuffed. I thought that was a play that they should have just snuck Aiden O'Connell, and he should have probably recognized that. And I don't know if, Josh McDaniels has given him the opportunity to do that, the leeway to be able to do that. But man, I mean, if you got someone not lined up over the center and it's 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1, I feel like you just got to take it almost every time. But all in all, I thought Aiden O'Connell did well trying to navigate the team in and out of the huddle, get them lined up correctly, put them in the right position, and go out and execute the plays. Thought the running game did a really good job. Offensive line did a good job. I mean, really, honestly, there was a lot to like about the whole stinking game, right? From the minute that the defense took the field, the tone was set. The offense went out and had a very long drive to start the game and really kind of let it be known that it was going to be a long day at the office for the 49ers. Again, wins and losses don't matter in the preseason, but the way you get there definitely matters. And I think the way that the 49ers tried to execute against the Raiders and the Raiders did not allow them to execute like that, again, really set the tone, knew it was going to be a physical game, and they were able to match the physicality and, matter of fact, be a more physical than the 49ers. I think that that bodes well for the Raiders moving forward. I think that a couple days of joint practices that they had with San Francisco at the Intermountain Healthcare Performance Center, I think that was a big deal. I think that really helped them in a major way prepare themselves for the first preseason game. And now they're getting ready to travel to L.A. and have joint practices with the L.A. Rams and then leading into Saturday's preseason game number 2. And that also, I believe, will help them, again, just kind of get themselves prepared for the upcoming season. 2 joint practices, 2 weeks in a row with 2 teams that like to be really physical. As far as I'm concerned, can't really hurt the Raiders at all. Now, Dylan Parham did leave the game with the injury. I want to say that it was a head injury. I'm not 100% sure. I normally am down at the media sessions after the game with head coach Josh McDaniels. Normally, I'm in the locker room, but since I was doing the pre and the post game show, I wasn't able to do that. Now, I did have a few people from the radio station that were able to get into the locker room and talk to some players. So I do have some of that sound, and maybe I'll bring some to the show tomorrow. But I wasn't able to get any clarity. I want to say it was a head injury for Dylan Parham, but I was never told specifically, and I remember it was never announced in the press box while we were watching the game. But then again, as I mentioned, at the end of the 3rd quarter, I went down to the Modelo Cantina Ultra, the little lounge area, so I can do the post-game show. So there was a lot going on, so I may have missed it, but it seemed like to me that it was a head injury for Dylan Parham and I do believe that he will be back. So all in all, I thought it was a really good game for the Silver and Black. Again, when you come away with the 34-7 victory, I know it's only a preseason game, but you give your fans something to cheer about, and you show something and show everybody really what you've been working on quite a bit in training camp, something I've been talking about. Now you start to pull back the curtain and let everybody get a look of it. So well done by the Silver and Black, and good job for the first week, right? I don't really have too many complaints, but we'll talk about some people who stood out in a major way. Usually I give out game balls in the regular season. I don't want to give out game balls, but I will shed some light on the ones that stood out in a major way coming up in segment number 2, and I'll get to that after I tell you about Underdog Fantasy Best Ball Mania 4. And with August being here, you know what that means, the official start of fantasy football drafting month. Get championship ready for your home league by trying out Best Ball on Underdog Fantasy. All you do is one live snake draft, no waivers, no trades. Underdog sets your best lineup every week. Try it out with Underdog's Best Ball Mania Tournament. The largest fantasy football contest of all time is back and even bigger. With $15 million of total prizes up for grabs, including an absurd $3 million going to the winner. Man, come on now. Last year, the winner drafted their team in July, so you don't even have to wait. Just go ahead and make it happen right now. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com, find them in the App Store, sign up with the promo code LOCKEDON to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Locked On. Underdog is the easiest place to play fantasy football and the best place for Best Ball. Best Ball Mania 4 is the largest fantasy football tournament ever. Again, visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. Sign up with the promo code Locked On. All right, Raider Nation, here we go. Segment number 2 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Normally, during the regular season, I like to hand out game balls. Who earned game balls and who didn't? Well, in the preseason, I don't really want to hand out game balls, but I definitely want to talk about those that stood out. And I kind of briefly touched on it in segment number 1 as we were doing a little bit of a game recap as the Raiders get the 34-7 victory over the 49ers at preseason game number 1. And don't look now, but Josh McDaniels is 5-0. 5-0 in preseason games, right? Never lost a preseason game last year. Haven't lost a preseason game this year, so he's sitting there 5-0. Not that any of that matters. But did talk about Aiden O'Connell in segment number 1 quite a bit, and I'm just thoroughly impressed. Right, when the Raiders drafted him, I came on the podcast and thought that, okay, they got a glorified backup. And you know what? They might. They might have a glorified backup for all we know. It was one preseason game. I don't want to get too high on it, but I will tell you that I have no problem saying I was impressed with what the young man did, going 15 for 18, throwing for 141 yards and a touchdown pass. And it's beyond the stats for me. Again, as I was talking about on Friday, what I wanted to see from the quarterback, I wanted to see how he got the play call in. Was he able to, spit that play call out in the huddle, get everybody lined up? Was there going to be some panic at the line of scrimmage? Was the play clock going to be running down and they have to burn timeouts for no reason? I'll tell you right now, man, Aiden O'Connell, I don't know what is going on with him, but he looked like the moment was not too big. It looked like he never was panicked. He really was out there, and he was kind of cooler than the other side of the pillow, just really calm, relax, cool, chill, read the reads, and delivered the ball where it needed to go. 15 for 18. One was a Trey Tucker drop that he should have had. Another one was a deep shot to Trey Tucker that, he probably could have laid it out in front of Trey just a little bit more, but I feel like Trey's got to come down with that play as well. So, really a great day for Aiden O'Connell. And think about this. The reason why I really want to give him a lot of praise is this is the dude getting a start. It's not like he came in the second quarter, or he came in after a quarterback that was a veteran in the league like a Brian Hoyer or a Jimmy G. He came in as the starter of the game in his very first NFL game ever. I don't care if it's preseason or not. You would think that there's going to be some anxiety, some butterflies in the belly. And I'm sure there were. But you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it by looking at him. The dude was out there standing in the pocket, just delivering shot after shot after shot down where he needed to, right to the wide receiver, put him in really good position to succeed. So, again, it's just one preseason game. I'm not going to anoint him the next coming of, whatever, Tom Brady or whatever, whoever you want to put out there, whatever label you want to put out there. But all you could do is judge a guy off of what he's done and how he's performed in these games. And so far, he's played one game, and he's performed really well. So I think that Aiden O'Connell did a really good job. And honestly, Aiden O'Connell did a really good job after the Raiders' defense set the tone for the whole game. The 49ers won the toss. The 49ers decided to receive. And on back-to-back possessions, the Raiders held them to 3-and-out. And on the first possession, they sacked them 2 out of 3 plays. They only ran 3 plays, and the Raiders were able to get home twice. and sacked them. And just what I was able to see from that defense is what I was seeing in training camp, and what I keep coming back and saying, that it looks like this defense is flying around. It looks like they're playing with a purpose. The guys in the back end, the secondary and the linebackers, they're going hunting for the ball. That's going to be the theme for me this year. Hunting for the ball. How much do the Raiders hunt that ball? And they did it, right? Sam Webb came away with a nice interception towards the end of the game off a tip ball. He was able to get that and have a heck of a return there. And then, of course, they had a Curtis Bolton punched out a ball, and Azizi Hearn picked it up and was able to recover that fumble. So they came away with 2 takeaways. They honestly should have had 4. Right, I mentioned it in segment number 1 where Duke Shelley had the interception in his hands in the end zone, and it just pops out, and of course it drops right into the hands of a 49er tight end for the touchdown. And that was their only touchdown that they had on the day. That should have been an interception. After the Raiders scored right before halftime, Amari Burney, the 6th-round pick out of Florida, the linebacker, he had an interception as well that he might possibly have been able to take to the house, but he wasn't able to come down with it. So they've got to do a better job of securing it. You know, when they have the opportunity to get that ball, they need to come away with it. But again, the biggest deal is to see them actually out there hunting the ball, looking for the ball, expecting to get there. And then, of course, the pressure that you're seeing on the quarterback. I was interested because Trey Lance got the start. Trey Lance is a very athletic dude. He's a very mobile dude. So I felt like the Raiders' defense of line was going to be able to get some pressure on him. But at the same time, I thought maybe he was going to be mobile enough that he was going to be able to just shake out of it and keep plays alive. But, man, after that first possession where they got 2 sacks, he just did not look comfortable the whole game. He just looked like he was out of sorts, did not really want to be out there. I know he wanted to be out there, but it just seemed like he wasn't, fixated on being out there and being that quarterback, because the Raiders, they rattled him early, and it basically stuck with them throughout the course of the game. So the Raiders defense had 4 sacks, 2 takeaways, a couple batted balls, contested completions, and, just like I said, a really good, as far as I'm concerned, really good day of defensive pressure and just showing their ability and what they've been showing in training camp. And you just wondered if it was going to translate and carry over into game action. And it did. And, I know that the 49ers didn't have their starters out there. Look, the Raiders didn't either. You look at the guys on the defensive side of the ball that didn't go out there and participate, there was plenty of them. So to know that the guys that were backups were out there and then they were expecting to go out there and make plays, I thought that was pretty impressive as well. But between the offensive line opening up holes for Zamir White, Sincere McCormick, Amir Abdullah, whoever carried the rock, right, for the Raiders to run the ball 35 times, have over 130 yards rushing, a couple touchdowns on the ground. That's a good day for the offensive line. And that's without Colton Miller. That's without Andre James, right? I mean, Dylan Parham going out of the game early. These, again, are backups. So the competition that Dave Ziegler and company have created with all the talented guys that they have in camp is a good thing, because there's going to be some talent that's going to be cut. But you feel like that's okay, because the 53 that do remain on the roster come the end of the month, August 29th, as a matter of fact, is going to be a very competitive bunch and a very good, solid bunch, both on the offense and the defense. So, again, just really impressed with Aiden O'Connell. I can't say it enough. I can't wait to see what he looks like against the Rams. And it's funny because Donald Penn said, I think, Hugh, we have a backup quarterback now. And, of course, the Raiders do have a backup quarterback in Brian Hoyer. But Aiden O'Connell, at least after one preseason game, is kind of saying, hey, you know what? I might be able to be that backup quarterback just in case. Again, I'd like to see him stack it. I'm not ready to give him that job already. I'd like to see him do a really good job against the Rams. Want to see him do a really good job against the Cowboys as well. But if he starts putting these together consistently, there could be a good chance that he ends up being the backup quarterback directly behind Jimmy G instead of Brian Hoyer, where there's days that Brian Hoyer might go out and not even dress up, right? He might not even be that guy, even though I know that they did change the rules, which is a good thing. They changed the rules for the quarterback position so they can have a guy that is dressed out and he doesn't count against the number of men that they have activated on a game day. So Aiden O'Connell, well done. Again, 15 for 18, 141 yards, a touchdown pass. Just like looked like he looked the part and never looked like he got too high or low. Raiders defense, fantastic job. 4 sacks, 2 takeaways, batted balls, contested completions. Did a really good job. And oh, by the way, don't let me forget Daniel Carlson. He looks like he's in midseason form, right? 1 for 1 for field goals, 53 yards. Fantastic job. They don't call him Cash Money Carlson for no reason. He does a great job, and he did a great job with that 53-yard field goal. And it's funny because the 49ers kicked a field goal or attempted to kick a field goal near the half, and they Didn't get it, and it was only about 40 yards. Daniel Carlson rolls in there from 53 yards out. Boom. Cash money. So what stood out to you the most from the game on Sunday? Again, the Raiders get the 34-7 victory over the San Francisco 49ers. The Battle of the Bay by way of Vegas is what I like to call it. What stood out to you? 707-654-4693. Your calls and texts are coming up in segment number 3 of the show here on the Locked On Raiders podcast. And, of course, I got to tell you about FanDuel. And right now, with football season being back, it's time to kick off and have a good time with FanDuel. They're giving you a chance to win all season long. Right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets back every time they win in the regular season. All you got to do is pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get bonus bets for every single victory. You can use those bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, whatever the case may be, you can do it. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Again, FanDuel.com/Locked On. Here we go, Raider Nation. Segment number 3 of today's Locked On Raiders podcast. Your calls and text straight off that Locked On Raider podcast voicemail line, 707-654-4693. Let's start things off with the Cisco Kid out the 209. He's calling to give a quick shout-outs and talk about a player that stood out to him. Here he is, Cisco Kid out of the 209.
Q, what's going on, man? Happy Monday. This your boy, Cisco Kid, 209, calling in. Just want to say I was watching this preseason game, and Aiden O'Connell, man, he's looking good for that first little preview we got, you know. Like to see more of it and see what the kid can do, you know. Much respect. Want to give a big shout out to you, Q, throughout the whole off season. Been listening to you every single morning on my way to work. Daily routine. Give you mad respect. Keep on doing your thing, man. And I know the whole entire Raider Nation knows that we appreciate it, man. Want to give a shout out to longtime listeners that I've been listening to, Jordan Morgan, King Raider. Also want to give a shout out to Nathan Glass, man. Whenever you're ready to come to the nation, man, we ready, man. We out here. We ready for you, man. Open arms. Much love. Much love to everybody, Raider Nation. Have a good week, and let's take care of business. Later, Q.
Cisco, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate you, brother. Aiden O'Connell, again, really great game. Damn near perfect, right? Want to see more from him. He did enough on Sunday where it's like, okay, give me more. I want to see a little bit more. He was in the game for a long time. Well into the third quarter, I thought he was going to be done at halftime, and he just kept coming out. And the defense did a good job putting him in position to get the ball in short fields and then give Josh McDaniels reasons to, hey, you know what? Run the rookie out there a little bit more. Let's see what else he's got. So I thought it was a really good job by Josh McDaniels of just using Chase Garbers and Aiden O'Connell and really being able to get the most out of those guys. But I thought Aiden O'Connell did a great job of maximizing the time he was out there on the grass. So thank you so much for that call. I appreciate you. Up next, got a text from Rob out of Hermit, California. He says, hey, Q, it's a great game today. Sounds like you had a blast at the pre- and post-game show with Big Donald Penn. You guys did great. So I wanted to discuss Tyree Wilson. I'm hearing reports that he was visibly limping still, putting worry in Raider fans that he's further off than we think. What have you heard or seen? Good to see the rest of the defense was lights out. Keep up the hard work, Q. That's Rob out of Hemet, California. Rob, thanks for the text. I do appreciate you. And everything that we're hearing about Tyree Wilson is that he's close. I don't know. I haven't seen him since the draft, to be 100% honest with you. I literally have not seen him since I interviewed him right after he got selected back in April. That was the last time I saw him. I didn't make it back to Las Vegas and to the Henderson facility by the time he made it to town to interview and meet with the media. So I literally have not seen him since I interviewed him right after he got drafted. So I wouldn't know if he's limping, but everything that we're hearing, Coach McDaniel says that he's really close. He should be out there sooner rather than later. So I'm assuming that if he's not out this week, he'll be right out after the Rams game and be prepared to do some training camp and some practice settings. I don't think that he's that far off. I just think that he's not quite ready, and they want to make sure he's 100% good to go before they throw him out there. But thanks again for that text. Again, that's Rob out of Hemet, California, not Hermit. I was like, man, where is Hermit? Right? I wrote it down on my notes here, and I was like, man, Hermit Crab? Hermit Cali? No, Hemet Cali, big dummy. But, Rob, thanks for the text. I appreciate you. Up next, got a call from Raider Mid in the 408. He's calling to talk about Aiden O'Connell, what he thought about him, then also talks about a couple other groups, both on and off the field. Here he is, Raider Mid out the 408.
Yo, Q. It's your boy Raider Mid, calling from the 408. First impressions on O'Connell, bro. Couldn't be any better, man. That was pretty good. The quickness of him getting the balls out of his hand, The whip of the arm on that first throw was like, whoa. I judged the book by the cover for sure. I was like, maybe it was just the memes. But, man, very impressive. I mean, the point of view, the vision he had when the TV kind of showed us his point of view and watching that play develop. Hey, shout out to the O-line, you know what I'm saying, for letting him get that much time. I mean, it's very much needed, especially as a, first time, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, dude balled out. Let me see what else I got here because I typed this out. His accuracy is also notable. Dude was throwing everything on the dime. There's a couple ones where he kind of threw it a little high and maybe it would have been picked, but, it didn't. So let's just knock on wood. Let's just keep talking about what's good, you know what I'm saying? I understand it's preseason, but dude, put both feet forward and, I'm saying that the team looks pretty good overall. I'm kind of graded them myself. Whatever that means, you know what I'm saying? But coaching, it's preseason. What I want from them is to see, McDaniels, to just kind of be a little more consistent on this, not a 1 week, not a 2 week thing. No, I want to make this more a consistent thing, you know what I'm saying? I think this will build them a little more of a confidence thing. So, hopefully that's what I want to see from the coaching, you know what I'm saying? Even the players, but, it transfers, yin and yang. The defense, creating turnovers, that's awesome. Emphasis on the turnovers, which is great. Let that keep going and, just keep it going. Keeping them at 1 yard for a while there, which is, come on, what more can we ask from them? The offense, McConnell balling out. I mean, I probably recognize him for the game ball. I know you do that segment. And then, special teams, they do what they do. You feel me? Shoot. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's pretty, it's a great start. Hopefully they keep us going and, yeah, man, shoot. I'm excited, as you can tell, man. We beat that Niners, eh? I know it's over. I know it's preseason, but, oh, man, it shut them up for a bit, bro. It's tough out here in the Bay, bro. The Santa Clara Niners. I was like, all right, man. Thanks, Q. Appreciate you, bro. And Raiders.
Man, thanks so much for the call, man. Not a whole lot to complain about, right? Really a whole complete team effort. I mentioned earlier in the show Azizi Hearn came up with the fumble recovery. That was one thing that stood out to me that I didn't like too much was the fact that the 49ers identified him as the weak link in the secondary. Sam Darnold went after Azizi Hearn. He attacked him early and often in the second half. And lucky for Hearn, he came up with the big play as far as after Curtis Bolton knocked out the ball, caused the fumble, and then Hearn went and got the fumble recovery. So, I mean, there was that. He made the play. It was so funny. I tweeted out that the 49ers found what the matchup that they like, right? Azizi Hearn against whoever the hell he's guarding. And then all of a sudden he comes up with the fumble recovery. So someone tweeted back at me, yeah, Hearn with the fumble recovery. And I said, yeah, exactly. That's how that thing works, right? I talk about somebody that's not having a very good day. Then all of a sudden he comes up with a big play. But, yeah, Azizi Hearn did not look too good as far as I was concerned in coverage. But it was good awareness of him to be able to come up with that fumble recovery. But thanks so much for the call, my man. I do appreciate you. And speaking of the coaches, you mentioned the coaches. I thought they did well as also. Anytime the offense puts up as many points as they do, you got to give credit to the offensive coaches and the defensive coaches for limiting the 49ers to only 7. I thought that was a good job on both ends of the ball. So the coaches, I thought, did well on Sunday as well. Up next, got a text from Jade in San Jose. It says, hey, Q. This is Jay in San Jose. Wow, we look good against the 49ers. Of course, got to stay cautiously optimistic, consider we were 4-0 last year in the preseason. I'm wondering what your thoughts on where all the DBs stand after week 1. I know Duke Shelley dropped that pick, but he was looking good all game. I really hope he can make the roster. He'd be a great depth piece. It'd be hard to justify keeping a Meek over him, for example. Additionally, I want to pop the question of why Brian Hoyer is even on the roster. I get it, he provides experience, but I think in the unfortunate scenario where Jimmy gets hurt, O'Connell would be the perfect guy to get in. Either you see if you have your future quarterback or you suck and you have a chance at one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. I'd honestly rather keep Garbers on the 53 than Hoyer. And if you have to see Brian Hoyer play a snap this year, I'll be extremely angry. Anyways, appreciate everything you've been doing. I'm a new listener, but have been hooked ever since discovering the show. Thanks. That's Jade in San Jose. And as far as Brian Hoyer goes and Aiden O'Connell, part of his job, remember, Brian Hoyer's job is to coach up Aiden O'Connell. right? Jimmy G's got to get adapted to the offense. Jimmy G is still trying to work out the kinks. So Brian Hoyer, who's very comfortable in the offense, is also in the rookie's ear. I think Brian Hoyer is playing a very invaluable position, right, where he's basically a coach on the field. And I do think there's going to be games where you're going to see him inactive and you'll see Aiden O'Connell active. But I think he's playing an important role. I really do. And as far as the cornerbacks go, I mentioned Azizi Hearn. He wasn't looking too good. Duke Shelley was looking good. He dropped that interception, but he was looking good. I think he did a good job. Sam Webb, I think he did a good job. Jacorian Bennett, thought the rookie did well. Really well. I know there was one play where he got beat, but, I mean, the guy was just never giving up. He was out there being kind of a scud missile. Even on special teams, I thought he did a really good job. So I think that the battle in the cornerback room is very close. I think Azizi Hearn is definitely in last place right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets cut sooner rather than later. But I think everybody else did a really good job, right? Tyler Hall, I thought he did good. Jacorian Bennett, as I mentioned before, thought he did really good. No Marcus Peters, no Nate Hobbs. Those guys weren't playing, but you know what they bring to the table when they come back as well. So right now, it's hard to say where the cornerback room is at. I'll just say that, as Donald Penn said on the postgame show, as a matter of fact, he said, I think a couple guys earned some jobs today. And I said, look, I don't know who earned a job, but I don't feel like any of those guys lost their job. And maybe the only guy would have been an Azizi Hearn, and that's only because, well, he didn't have the most confident or confident building day at the office on Sunday versus the 49ers. But thanks, Jade, again for that text. I do appreciate you. Got a call from Raider94 from East 66. I believe it kind of sounded like that. He's calling to talk about the game and also has some thoughts on fourth-round pick, Aiden O'Connell, and then he talks about the defense as well. Here he is, Raider94.
What's going on, Q? What's going on, Raider Nation? It's your boy, Raider94 from 66. Want to make a quick call in before the time runs out. Watched the preseason game. I'm sure everyone else has. I'm sure everyone can call about it, everything. But I just want to give in, honestly, my thoughts about this, because I'm not going to lie, man, I was pretty impressed. I was actually pretty impressed. I know it sounds stupid because it's preseason, but Aiden O'Connell, man. Aiden O'Connell. I'm not going to lie to you. When we drafted him, I didn't know who the hell he was. Had no idea who he was. Never heard of the guy. I had to research him, look up some, highlights or whatever. And when I seen the highlights, it seemed that the main thing that everyone was saying was that he was accurate. And, man, in this preseason game, which I understand it is preseason, the man was accurate. We cannot deny that, Q. We cannot deny that, Raider Nation. He was accurate. That boy was throwing some bombs. No, I wouldn't say bombs. I'm sorry. Wrong. But there was one that he threw that I was very impressed that he caught. He actually threw. The receiver did not catch it, but the accuracy was there. Very much was there. And for him to be 18, 18 to 15, 141 yards. That's pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good. I feel pretty confident with that. And also, the defense. The defense as well looked great today. It didn't, you know what, let me take a little step back, looked good. But, obviously, it's preseason. So, my main thing is I just want to call and say that Raider Nation looks solid. Raider Nation looks good. It's kind of weird, man, because we don't know what's going to happen. We do not know what's going to happen this year. But with this preseason game, gave me a little bit of more faith. Your boy Q, Raider Nation, Raider F4 out. I want to see what everyone else has to say about this.
Thank you for the call, my man. I think you hit it on the head. O'Connell looked good. Defense looked good. Don't know what that means for the regular season. Again, they were 4-0. The Raiders were 4-0 in the preseason last year and didn't do too hot. Only found a way to win 6 games. So who knows what that's going to mean in the end. But I do think it's something to build off of, right? You practice the way you want to play. And the way that they're practicing, the way that they've been going hunting for the ball in practice is what you saw on Sunday. So if they do that consistently, continue to do what I said, stack days. Continue to stack day, stack day, stack day, stack day. They're going to be where they need to be. So thank you so much for that call. I do appreciate you. I got time for one more text, and we'll wrap up the show. This one comes from Gio in Northridge. It says, hey, Q, this is Gio from Northridge. I know it's preseason. I know it's too early, and I know this game is going to be one of the main topics on today's episode. But, man, Aiden O'Connell really impressed me. I always had faith in this guy since day one. There's just a dog him that just shows, and boy, did he show out today. There's just a dog in him, I think it's meant to say, that just shows, and he showed it today. He looked very confident, threw the ball with amazing accuracy. You can easily tell he's hungry for the second-string quarterback position. And not to bag on Jimmy G, but I wouldn't be surprised to see O'Connell start at least one game of the season. Even McDaniel's play calling looked like it was coming together. Overall, the whole team impressed me, and the defense looked on point. I know it's way too early, and given what happened last season after the preseason success, I'd be a fool to get too hyped. But honestly, this game and teamwork got me fired up. Hopefully, we can ride this momentum into the rest of the season. Raiders, that's Gio in Northridge. And, yeah, you don't want to get too high on this. It's one victory. It's a preseason game. The Raiders were 4-0 last season in preseason, and we saw how it all shook out. They only ultimately won 6 games. But, again, I feel like there's a lot to build on. I think that the defense did some really good things. They showed confidence. They showed that swagger. They showed the ability to go get the ball. They showed the ability to tackle for loss. They showed the ability on special teams to be where they need to be. I mean, I just felt like they did an overall team effort, and they did a great job. Now, again, they've got to do a great job this week against the Rams. They got to do a great job next week against the Cowboys, and so on and so forth, and then get into the regular season and hope that it continues to build. But if you practice it and you practice it consistently, one would think that it'll carry over into the regular season. But, Gio, thanks again for that text. I do appreciate you. And that's all I got time for on today's show. Raider Nation, head coach Josh McDaniels is going to talk to us by way of Zoom this morning around 11:30. I'm not sure if they'll broadcast it, but whatever he has to talk about, of course, I'm sure we'll ask about Dylan Parham for sure, just to kind of see where he's at. We'll talk. I'll bring you some of the Josh McDaniels sound on Tuesday's show. We'll have more news and notes. We'll have calls and texts, and we'll have plenty of conversation here as the Raiders get ready to take on the L.A. Rams joint practices and then the L.A. Rams on Saturday in preseason game number 2 from SoFi Stadium in L.A. So until tomorrow, Raider Nation, take care of yourself, take care of your family, love on your family. Most importantly, as always, just win, baby.